I'm joined this evening by members of the project team for the Teign Estuary Trail, Roger North, Andrew Kanani, Doe Fitzsimmons and Peter Chamberlain. We're currently in a month-long public consultation period where we are seeking views on our proposals for the Teign Estuary Trail between Newton Abbot and Teignmouth. A few pieces of housekeeping to ensure that the webinar runs smoothly, particularly for those with weaker internet connections. Please do keep your microphone muted and video turned off. These are controlled by the camera and microphone icons at the top of the Microsoft Teams page, indicated by the first two icons shown here. We will not be recording the question and answer session, as I've already mentioned, though we will be making notes of the discussion to ensure points are fed back into the consultation. Once we reach the question and answer session, we'll ask for hands to be raised via the hand symbol on Microsoft Teams. Alternatively, there is the chat function that questions can be entered into. Please do be aware that there are a lot of attendees on the call, which is absolutely brilliant and great to see, but this may mean we're not able to take all of your questions this evening, though we will do our best to do so. So before we dive into the specifics, a reminder that the consultation is currently live, running until the 18th of December, and we want you to have your say. There are a number of ways to do this. If you have access to the internet, please do visit devon.cc/teignestuarytrail, where you will find the scheme information and an online survey. However, you can also email or write to the team, and your views will also be included. This evening, I'll be running through a short presentation, probably taking about 20 minutes, covering the background to the scheme, our current proposals for the public consultation, and next steps post-consultation. We'll then move into a question and answer session. So if you do have anything you would like to ask, I would request that you wait until we move into this part of the webinar. We'll clarify the format for the question and answer session when we get there. So for the scheme context, the Teign Estuary Trail seeks to complete the missing link of the National Cycle Network Route 2, connecting Newton Abbot to Exeter via the award-winning Estuary Trail. Connecting Dawlish, Teignmouth and Newton Abbot through the extension of the Teign and Estuary Trails would form a national showcase supporting leisure as well as local active travel trips, for example to work and education, providing economic and health benefits. In addition, the trail would link to an emerging network of routes centred on Newton Abbot, extending as far as Moreton Hampstead in Dartmoor. This is a long-term strategic route for Devon County Council, and we are proud to have a strong track record of delivering this style of route elsewhere in the county, particularly the Estuary Trail, but also the Tarka Trail, Granite Way, Stover Way, and the Ray Valley Trail. These have been most successful where there are significant populations nearby, an interesting landscape, and the potential to not simply be a long-distance leisure route. The Teign Estuary Trail meets all of these criteria. The strategy for delivery of the Teign Estuary Trail is that it will be delivered incrementally. In spring 2018, Devon County Council completed works on the section of the trail that links Newton Abbot Racecourse to the Passage House Inn, and that's shown here in pink at the bottom left. This was achieved cost effectively using recycled materials and was supported by local communities. This section of the trail has been well used by both cyclists and pedestrians since its completion, and is an indication of how popular the whole route could be when complete. Similarly, the Estuary Trail is complete down to Dawlish, providing a high-quality link to Exeter and Exmouth. Dawlish to Teignmouth section, shown here in red, has gone through design and requires the identification of funding in order to reach delivery. So this leaves the gap between Passage House Inn and Teignmouth, shown here in yellow and blue. The yellow section runs parallel to the rail line to the north of the estuary and will form a planning application to be submitted in early 2021, whilst the blue section can be delivered via permitted development alongside the existing road corridor. It is the yellow and blue sections that the public consultation proposals cover. This section is located in the undeveloped coast of Teignbridge along the Teign Estuary. This tidal section of the Teign River is in a stunning landscape rich in wildlife and contains several sites of local ecological significance. Should the scheme progress to delivery, subject to planning approval and suitable funding allocations, we have confidence it will be a real asset to the developing active travel network, not only in Teignbridge, but in the wider context of the county as a whole, providing connectivity between a number of communities, as well as improving access to the natural environment. So for the Newton Abbot to Teignmouth section, we have developed some scheme objectives, which we really want to ensure the proposals that come forward achieve. We do believe the proposals we've included within the public consultation do accord with these, but we would welcome comments throughout the consultation as to whether you have ideas that would help align the scheme with these further. So for anyone who can't see the slides, the scheme objectives are to provide a strategic multi-use connection between Newton Abbot and Teignmouth, addressing the missing link of the National Cycle Network, Route 2. To promote recreation and leisure trips with increased access to the natural environment and supporting local tourism. To promote sustainable travel as an alternative method of transport, providing health and well-being benefits to local communities and supporting carbon net zero aspirations. To optimise the amenity value of the Teign Estuary Trail and the enjoyment of the Teign Estuary. To develop and maintain the Teign Estuary Trail in a manner which conserves and enhances the environment whilst limiting adverse impacts, and to improve the safety of non-motorised users travelling between Newton Abbot and Teignmouth. So the current proposals seek to provide a continuous route between Passage House Inn and the A381 east of Bishop Stainton, which will then cross over the A381 and proceed along the northern edge of the road corridor on a widened shared use path up until the Morrison's Junction. The route is designed to be at least 3 metres wide and suitable for use by pedestrians, cyclists, and those using wheelchairs or mobility scooters. The trail will have a bound surface and follow contours as close as possible to reduce gradients. Various alignments and iterations have been considered by the design team, trying to balance various environmental, societal, and economic impacts. The yellow route does stay north of the railway, with the route south of the railway on the estuary side being rejected due to significant constraints identified with the association of construction within the estuary. These are such as flood risk, maintenance liabilities, and significant ecological impacts. We'll now discuss the specific proposals for the alignment of the route between Passage House Inn and the A381. The Newton Abbot to Teignmouth section is 5 kilometres in total, so we'll show these broken down into 4 smaller sections, so a bit more detail can be seen. And this will cover Hackney Lane to Weir Barton, Weir Barton to Luxton Steps, Luxton Steps to the A381, and the A381 to Teignmouth. At this point, I will hand over to my colleague, Roger.
Good evening. On the plan in front of you now, you'll see over on the left-hand side is the Newton Abbot Racecourse, and just to the right of that is Hackney Marshes. And the horizontal blue line there will show you from Hackney Marshes all the way to Passage House Inn. It's a section that Hannah referred to as already being completed. The trail would then head north from Passage House Inn along Hackney Lane, where it would then turn right and go along the southern boundary of the fields and south of Weir Barton Farm. There is a low-lying lagoon area there, and the trail would loop round the northern section of that lagoon area before getting over onto the next slide. From that point there, the route continues partially on network rail land south of Weir Farm and the caravan park, which I'm sure you will recognise. There's a subway under the track that allows free passage of the stock and residents to the land south of the railway line. The trail then skirts around the edge of the Weir Barton County Wildlife Site with an alignment that minimises the impact on the ecological aspects of that county wildlife site. At the next southern field boundary, the trail again utilises some of network rail land before proceeding even further to the east. On the next slide, at Luxon Marsh County Wildlife Site, the trail stays close to the railway line and bridges over the watercourse. The trail then has to climb some 4 to 5 metres in height along the section in blue there marked in a zigzag style. Again, this will be utilising some of Network Rail land towards Luxham Steps. Here there is a north-south link to Bishop Staton, and that is along the line of the existing public right-of-way towards Metro Motors you'll be familiar with. At Tide's Reach Pond, before bridging over Flow Lane, at Tide's Reach Pond, just before bridging over Flow Lane, that will discourage direct access onto the foreshore at Flow Lane because of the existence of the county wildlife site there. The scheme then passes via the southern extremity of Jack's Patch and the county wildlife site there. It then stays by the southern boundary of Shoot Fruits land and climbs uphill towards the A381. When arriving at the A381, there will be a signalised toucan crossing, which will then allow cyclists and pedestrians to join on the north side of the A381 at La Roche Maurice Walkway. Will then continue on a widened north side of the footway along the A381. And on the next slide, the trail continues along the widened north side of the footway of the A381. The A381 will be aligned and a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit imposed on this section to facilitate the widening. Whilst in places, parts of the old carriageway will also be utilised before the scheme then eventually reaches the existing junction south of Morrison's supermarket area. I think that's all now, and I'll hand back to Hannah.
Yeah, thanks for that, Roger. So what next? Well, once the consultation closes, we'll review all of the responses and analyse these to help inform us moving forwards. We'll be considering whether we need to make some design amendments as a result of the consultation, as well as ongoing liaison with key stakeholders. We can then identify changes and finalise the design to be included in the planning application. A public consultation report will also be uploaded onto the website, which will summarise all the information received. The big next step for this project will be to submit the planning application in 2021. Securing planning permission for the Newton Abbot to Teignmouth section will put the route in a strong position to start seeking funding opportunities, and attention can be turned to the route delivery. We also remain committed to the overall teignestuarytrail strategy and continue to seek suitable funding opportunities to deliver Dawlish to Teignmouth. In the long term, once these current sections are complete, we then hope to turn our attention to exploring the possibility to resolve the constraints within the complex urban network through Teignmouth. To round off, a reminder that the consultation is now live, and we do want to hear your views. This is your opportunity to shape elements of the teignestuarytrail in advance of the planning submission. If you have any comments or suggestions, please do let us know. This is a genuine consultation where we want to hear from the future users of the trail. We've received a lot of survey responses already, and thank you to everyone that has already done this. If you haven't, I would encourage you to visit the online survey and complete it as an easy way to register your views, and that's accessible at the website devon.cc/teignestuarytrail. Thank you all for attending this evening, and I hope the information provided so far has been useful. We will now stop the recording, please, Caitlin, and enter the question and answer session.